What's up, y'all? I'm Josh from Louisiana, and I want to thank you for tuning in to episode 3 of my recap of Feud, Capote vs. the Swans. Last week's episode had more than one twist and turn, and actually turned out to be really bittersweet in the end. As a reminder to everyone, this is a recap in which I will be going through the key events of the episode. So if you haven't watched yet, be aware that there are spoilers ahead. Although you should have watched already. Hope y'all enjoy. Now let's dive in. We open with Babe getting ready for the hospital. And a quick shout out to my cousin Aaron, who played Babe's hairdresser in the episode. Anyways, Babe is receiving radiation treatments that unfortunately aren't working, and she's forced to accept the fact that she may not have much time left. However, Bill is unwilling to accept this fate and is strongly encouraging Babe to get this new treatment to try to combat her cancer. But her doctor says that Bill is used to running the world, but nobody runs cancer, which I think was a great, albeit sad point. We can work our asses off, have more money than God, or be the most famous person in the world, but in the end, we really have no say in our fate. Then, over lunch with CZ, Slim, and Babe, we find out that Truman is planning to do a sequel to his black and white ball. Slim, completely unamused, says that Truman is like a cockroach. You try to stomp him out and his legs just keep twitching. Being from rancher stock in California, Slim is not just the type to turn the other cheek. But in an interesting turn of events, Babe says that she might go to the ball, which just about gives Slim an aneurysm. But Babe is considering forgiving Truman, if for nothing more than to have peace of mind in her final days. It just kind of makes you clutch your chest and really start to look at Truman through a different lens. After all, if Babe was able to forgive him, what are we not considering? Personally, I tend to be more of a Slim frame of mind. Once you betray me, we're done. I won't go to the extremes of trying to ostracize you from society, but I will act like you never existed. Actually, maybe I'm more of a Lee Radswell. So Truman's still with John, and side note, I think that John might actually be my least favorite character. I truly think he's just a terrible person and not anyone I would ever want to be around. And I believe that he might actually be a narcissist. He doesn't have any true feelings for anyone, not even his family. He's abusive, manipulative, and a leech. But anyways, Truman's going through his guest list and talking about all the famous people he wants to invite, all the royals that he wants to invite. And John says that he wants to invite some mystery woman that he's sleeping with. Truman, who looks like he just got punched in the gut, begins to spiral, saying that John had sworn fidelity to him. In yet another fit of rage, John begins hitting Truman again. And I know watching these scenes, we're probably all thinking, what in the hell are you doing? Get out of that situation. And for some, I think it makes us maybe like Truman even less. But on the flip side, I think Truman is just such a broken person that he's accepting the love that, or if you can call it that, the love that he thinks he deserves. But in one of the most shocking parts of the entire episode, we find out that Slim is sleeping with Bill. And let me just say, if Truman got even a whiff of this, it would all be over. He'd be running up to Babe's house faster than Usain Bolt. And I think that this was probably the most upsetting part of the episode for me. I mean, not only are you sleeping with your best friend's husband, you're sleeping with your dying best friend's husband. And, you know, Slim really has been my favorite character on the show until this point. But, I don't know, this was just truly upsetting. How can you sleep with your best friend's husband and then go to lunch with her and look her in the eyes as though nothing has ever happened? We then see Truman drunk coming out of a restaurant bathroom, and he runs into, you guessed it, Slim. And as mad as I am at her about the affair, I do love how this woman fights. She will slit your throat with a smile on her face and make you say thank you for doing it. But Truman is no slouch when it comes to a war of words. Obviously, he's a writer. He tells Slim, "It must be so dreadfully boring being a woman alone at your age. I miss you, but I miss Babe more." Slim goes on to tell him that she's suing him for slander, and Truman still just doesn't get it. He thinks that he did these women a favor by immortalizing them through exposing the most intimate details of their lives. When they're done with their mini knockdown, Truman returns to his table and sees Jack sitting there. In an attempt to get through to Truman, Truman's neurologist called Jack and pleads with him to talk to Truman. Apparently, Truman's brain is shrinking from all of his alcohol consumption, something I didn't even realize was possible. And Jack gives him an ultimatum. He either goes to rehab and gets rid of John, or Jack's out. He's done. Surprisingly, Truman agrees to go to rehab and kick John to the curb. Truman does a brief stint at rehab, and when he returns, it seems as though he and Jack are on a good path forward, and Truman's doing well. However, this new normal would not last, as Jack walks in on a drunken Truman in bed with John. I mean, I guess we have to wait until next week to see how that unfolds, but I can't imagine that John's going to actually stay with him after that. Then, in her never-ending quest to eviscerate Truman, Slim tells Liz Smith, a gossip columnist known as the Grande Dame of Dish, love that name, to write that Truman's ball is going to be a disaster. I mean, you gotta love the commitment. But in another twist, we see Slim and Lee at supper, where Lee asks Slim to stop attacking Truman. Lee tells her, "You don't need to avenge everyone. Truman is a sick, desperately unhappy little man and doesn't need any help from you." But Slim claims that she's just trying to protect everyone, especially Babe. And Lee tosses a grenade and says, "At least he isn't fucking Babe's husband." I mean, how many people know about this? Obviously, Slim is taken aback. Apparently, she thinks their little tryst is her best kept secret, but not in New York high society, honey. She agrees to stop seeing Bill, though, and she cautions Lee and her newfound empathy for Truman, saying, "What will you do when he gets to the Lee Radziwill chapter?" All I've got to say is, I want the Lee Radziwill chapter. Give me more Callista Flockhart. And the twists just keep on coming. Babe and Bill are at their house having a sweet and romantic evening, dancing to records, and Babe tells Bill that she wants him to take her to Truman's ball. Obviously, he has no interest in doing that, but also at the same time, how are you not going to do whatever this poor woman asked you to do? Babe's life really seemed like a lot of struggle, regardless of whether she had money or not, but towards what she knows is going to be the end of her life, she's had a husband who had countless extramarital affairs and a best friend who told the whole world about it. But that wasn't even the most shocking part. After Bill concedes and agrees to take her to the ball, Babe tells him that she doesn't want him to be alone and she thinks that he should be with Slim. Obviously, Bill was taken aback and is wondering if she knows about the affair. I personally think she does. But anyways, naturally, Bill goes to tell Slim and tells her that Babe may have an idea that they're having an affair. Obviously, Slim nearly has a panic attack and says that she doesn't know how she's going to face seeing her. But how could you face seeing her knowing what you were doing this entire time? I mean, don't get me wrong, Slim is still my favorite character, but damn, girl. I mean, what you're doing is pretty heartless. At the end of the episode, John's daughter, Carrie, pays Truman a surprise visit. Allegedly, Truman is officially done with John. Yeah, we'll see. But he thinks that Carrie is coming to see him to ask him to take her father back. However, Carrie isn't there to talk about her father at all. In an attempt to get away from her alcoholic mother, she comes to Truman asking him to help her find a job, but she also wants to learn to write like him. In what seems like a pretty selfless move, Truman not only gets her a job modeling, but also opens his home for her to stay with him while she's working in the city, and begins coaching her about writing, telling her to take notes and write down everything she hears about every person she knows. Apparently, Truman hasn't learned his lesson and is now trying to pass on those toxic skills to Carrie. In the final scene of the episode, Truman and Babe finally come face to face again. And honestly, it was such a bittersweet scene. They talked to one another as though things were almost back to normal. Almost. And you can clearly see that they both still hold great affection for one another. Babe had been having a dream that she runs into Truman in Paris, that none of the bad blood had ever happened between them, and they basically go on to live happily ever after. But here in New York, they embrace and go their separate ways. In the final line of the episode, Babe says that Truman was the love of her life. I'm not sure how I felt about this episode. I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved the episode, but it seemed almost like it should have been the final scene of the season. But I'm interested to know y'all's thoughts. I mean, do you think Slim was gunning so hard for Truman out of guilt over the fact that she's having an affair with Babe's husband? Do you think Jack will completely wash his hands of Truman since he went back to John and drinking? Did Babe know about Bill's affair with Slim? Anyways, drop a comment below and also let me know if there was anything that I missed. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram at Josh from Louisiana. That's all for today, y'all. Can't wait for tomorrow's episode, and I'll be seeing y'all next week.